How effective is the combination of your main product and ancillary texts? For my product, I decided to aim the whole thing, so all of my ancillary text and my digipack and my music video and poster, I decided to aim them all at 15 to 25-year-olds. This was because most of the statistics I was finding were all based around that sort of age group. So a lot of Bombay Bicycle Club and the Kooks and many different bands were all looking at this sort of age group. That's who they were targeting. So I decided that that would probably work best for my music product as well. So I decided to do that. And plus my music video was quite relaxed and quite calming, like most of the bands I also looked at, so I thought it would tie in quite nicely if I used quite a similar age group. A lot of indie sort of rock and acoustic sort of bands are quite well known at the moment as well, and I've also spoken to quite a few people to get an idea before I made my music products. So I spoke to people from the ages of 15, well, I started at 12 mostly, but not many 12-year-olds listen to that kind of music. They told me they listen to a lot of pop, so I decided not to base it around 12-year-olds and moved it up to 15. So after asking around quite a lot of 15-year-olds and 18-year-olds and kind of thing like that, I found out that a lot of them listen to this kind of music, which I personally do too. So I thought it'd be a good idea if I incorporated my likes into a music video also. So basically, I'm kind of a typical audience member, so I'm someone who my product would probably be aimed at. My music video worked very effectively, I've found, because it's quite colourful, which is something I intended, and to me that would attract younger audience. So quite bold colours. I used lots of yellows, lots of reds. I've used lots of urban locations, which made it quite entertaining, I guess, for younger audience, and is quite adventurous if a lot of people live in country sort of areas like I do. It's nice to sort of see a different place. I also used lots of graffiti like backgrounds in my music video to just show different forms of art. So my product's obviously a form of art, and I wanted to show other forms of art and make it so creative, which I feel has worked quite effectively on a younger audience also, as quite a lot of young people like graffiti, and quite a lot of them in, say, in GCSE art, they do quite a lots of graffiti and find it quite mesmerising and intriguing, which is something I wanted to incorporate into my own work. I kept my target audience in mind through the whole of my music video, so I made sure that none of the content was explicit, so I didn't have any drug taking or any alcohol abuse, any form of that. I just wanted to keep it simple, bold, colourful, creative, and just showing two people representing a typical young relationship, happy, wandering through different locations. So I had a rural location and a city location, and just representing ups and downs of relationships as they're walking around, really. This is my complete digipack. For the digipack, I wanted to keep my digipack somewhat simplistic, but not too simplistic that it's boring. So for my CD, I wanted to keep quite a white, well, I wanted the CD to be white really and have bold, dark writing. Well, I just wanted to intrigue the audience rather than overwhelm them with colour, so I've incorporated quite a lot of colour. So I've done a long exposure shot of Tom, who is the guy who's singing. I've got him in a long exposure shot looking at the camera of his guitar, and this allowed the shot, obviously it was still, so the shot the camera shook a little bit, so he kind of became out of focus and became this kind of blur with his guitar, which I felt worked so well, so I thought I had to use that, as it was like him and his guitar was like one image, just one person working together. And I thought that made it look so intriguing, so I kept that image. I've also kept in with the black and white theme, as I use black and white through my music video to represent the dark times and quite gritty atmospheres sort of thing, and when Tom is busking, so it separates the story from the live playing. This is a shot of Tom busking, and then it switches back to the story, which is a point of view shot which emphasises the colour. I kept that in mind when I was doing my digipack, and I used black and white shots, such as I did a close-up of a guitar, and it was a little bit too dark to start with, but then I brightened it up in Photoshop just to enhance like the textures kind of thing, because you couldn't really see the textures before and you couldn't really see the strings, so by lightening it and make it brighter, it allowed me to it was more eye-capturing, I guess, and more interesting. For the front cover, I just used Tom busking, and he sat on steps, which is a representation of what the ups and downs of sort of relationships, which I wanted to incorporate into my music video. For the back cover, I used CDs that I already had, so I used 4 CDs, and then in Photoshop I erased the names of those CDs, and I created songs for all of the songs that I have on my digipack. So I had Scar, which was the first one, We've All Lost, Everything and More, which is the song that I've used, and Beautiful Everyday. I thought this was quite exciting really, and quite interesting way to display a back of a CD cover. I just thought it was quite interesting, and for my target audience I thought it worked really well because it's quite a simplistic idea and quite simple and it was just fun, so I thought my target audience would quite like it, as I personally quite liked it. I incorporated the logos and stuff in Photoshop. I also used a picture of the guitar and amp, which was obviously just keeping in the theme of the whole genre of music, so acoustic, sort of indie rock, so I kept all the guitars and stuff like that to make it quite interesting, and just so it followed through the same idea. I didn't want to have a completely different digipack to my my music video, as I thought my target audience would get quite lost and a bit confused as to what they were both about, and I didn't want them to think, oh, these don't link together at all, so this is why I kept the kind of theme together. For my poster, I also did that of Tom, and he sat in a cafe, in the Bank Cafe, which is quite open, bright, so light, and then there's lots of quirky, sort of unique like phones and just really quirky items in there. So I thought I'd use that as a location, as it was bold and it just really brightened up the poster. So overall I think all my ancillary texts worked together quite nicely, as I've used colour to kind of create a theme. So I've used lots of reds, yellows, blues, reds to connote passion and love, blues to emphasise the cold parts of relationships and the hard times, and then I've used lots of urban locations throughout my ancillary text to demonstrate different locations and just the rural grittiness, I guess. So overall, I think all three of them have worked quite well, and they've all worked quite effectively, really. And I showed all these products to my target audience, and they all said pretty much the same thing. They liked the brightness, the vibrance, lots of colour. They liked the unique shots. A couple of them commented on the fact that they liked the long exposure shot of a still photo. They thought it was quite interesting as it exaggerated the colour. They also liked the use of black and white, as they said it fits in with my my actual media footage, as well as I've switched between the story and then the Tom busking in black and white. So they thought that it worked really well, and it was very effective. So after taking that on board, I personally believe that I've made quite effective products, really, and that they've all worked together and they've all kind of tied in well and they've complemented each other quite nicely.